Looking to achieve a healthier lifestyle but have little time? The Terrebonne General Executive Health Program can improve your overall health for a lifetime in one visit. With little to no waiting, you get a whole year of wellness in one convenient location. Our preventative screenings increase your well-being by providing early detection against illness. With exceptional VIP service, you leave with a plan in hand to achieve a healthier lifestyle tailored for you. Call the Terrebonne General Executive Health Team at 985-850-6204 today.
All right, we're back, just doing some updates and some talking as we have got past the snowstorm of January 21st, 2025. And I say get past, but it was a beautiful thing on one side, and on some other sides, it was very challenging. But two people joining me right now, I think, did a stellar job of getting things done, making things happen. And that's what we expect from our leaders. We have Sheriff Tim Saunier, who's with us today. Sheriff, good to see you.
Thank you, Mark.
As always. And we have Chief Travis Theriault. Chief, good to see you.
Afternoon, sir.
All right. This was different. It sure was different being on the air covering this than a hurricane. It had pluses and minuses, and the cleanup was different, but the snow was different, the ice was different. Sheriff, let's start with you. How was this different? You've been involved, me and you have been on the desk for many hurricanes. We've never been on the desk for snowstorm. How was it different?
Well, first of all, a lot of times we're tracking a storm, and especially during a hurricane, and we were tracking this storm, it's like, what is it going to bring and how cold it is. And then I think when we started seeing the snowfall, and I seen it start to stick, and it's like, it's going to start piling up. And of course, the day it snowed, it was like all day, and it kept falling. Then you kind of start shifting concerns as it melts, refreeze, looking at the temperatures. So it was a constant looking at temperatures, checking throughout the night. Is it going to freeze over? Because you got concern of your officers out there, all your responders, and not only that, the public. So it was a constant day by day looking at what was happening. I think that sun towards those last couple of days worked out for us. Yeah. And I don't think we had some ice, but a lot of it was more of a crunch type thing where, traction's still there. My officers were still able to get out there. And we answered calls from service, welfare checks, things like that on the people, but it's just constant monitor. Unlike a storm, everybody's hunkered down. Now we're assessing damage, trying to get roads clear and get everything back to normal.
And one thing I learned, Chief, is that especially here in the city, which is your jurisdiction, the cars would hit that black ice right in front of the station, spin out. A couple of times they missed that fire hydrant by inches. So I don't know if the fire hydrant was frozen or the water would have flown. I'm sure the water was active in a big pipe like that. But look, here's one of them, just can't get any traction. They'd hit that black ice and have to back out of it. At one point, for hours, we had a whiteout here. We couldn't see down the street for a lot of time. That had to be the first time you've seen that.
Oh, yeah. We've never seen anything like that before. You look around, you can't tell what's the shoulder, what's the middle of the road. But all in all, it was a new challenge, but it was pretty at the same time.
Yeah, I want to commend you, and I'm going to get to the sheriff too. Things that people did different that weren't expected. I understand, and I wish we had a photo. I wish we were around when y'all did it, but you were personally helping shovel ice and snow off of steps in the city, which I thought was admirable. That's above and beyond, and that's things we don't expect. I mean, we expect y'all to do the normal duties, but that's above and beyond. And Sheriff, you were delivering water, you were doing different things. And so I want to thank both of y'all publicly, because so many times our public officials get lambasted for the one or two things that go wrong, but y'all were doing a lot of things right. So I want to thank you. Were you worn out after you did all that shoveling?
Well, I was sore, but I think it was sore from us, the slip and fall a couple times earlier that day. Yeah. But look, that wasn't just me. You had parish manager was out there shoveling. You had the fire chief that was out there shoveling. Dana Artigo was out there shoveling. I want to say Jan Loop with parish and a few other parish workers that were all out there just trying to get the courthouse ready to open up the next day, so no citizens were at risk of falling and getting hurt.
And Sheriff, I commended you too on the air as well, because I thought your communications was excellent. You were giving us blow by blow as you were driving, and I want to thank you again. You did take us around the parish to get some much needed video, because like I said, when we get in these shots, and we had a lot of drone footage too, this is the first time we've been through it. So archiving this, because we may never see this again, but somebody 25 years may see it and they'll go, okay, this is what it was like. So thank you for that. But I bet it was eye-opening on a parish level.
Oh, it was. I mean, when I started seeing the aerial footage, I'm like, my goodness, but I felt compelled that people need to see it, because I mean, they might see it in their backyards. You know, we're trying to mitigate as much as we can. Don't go on the road. Like I told you before, we did welfare checks on family members. I mean, we had 4-wheel drives. We have equipment, but for people just kind of go out there and see it, I mean, I didn't want them to miss it. I wanted people to see this, because this is probably one of our once in a lifetime things we're going to experience, probably at least our lifetimes.
Yeah, let's do this too. And I want to, as we look at some of the footage, sort of reliving the beauty of this all day, you see the emergency units moving up and down and just trying to keep people. And I think for the most part, from what we saw on camera, and maybe we could come back and talk about, I think people adhered to staying off the roads. Now, I don't care if you have a volcano pops up in Terrebonne Parish and you tell people to stay home. There's going to be a couple that want to test out their 4-wheel drive and see what they got. So when we come back, let's talk about the things maybe that we can learn from. You know, what we could do as a society and as a parish to learn on some of the things that none of us knew what was going to happen or expect. We've never been through it. So we'll talk about that. We'll take a break. The sheriff and the police chief, we're jotting down the learning process now. Let's learn so next time we have that list.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
All right, welcome back. I have the sheriff and the police chief, Sheriff of Terrebonne Parish, Tim Saunier, the police chief, Travis Terrio joining us now. We've talked about what it was like being in the first time in this. We all had that experience. I've answered as many phone calls for the snowstorm as I did for any major hurricane. This was different for everybody. Let's start with actual wrecks and incidents. Chief, in the city, compare it to maybe the last snowstorm of 17. What was the difference?
That was a one afternoon event, and the number I was given, we had 35 crashes within the city limits of Houma. So going into this, the police department, the sheriff's department, and Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government did a much better job of educating the public and telling them what was coming. We were all out there.
You had 35
preaching,
in 2017.
And this year, 35 and 17, this year we have one crash in 3 days.
Because y'all were pounding that home. There's no doubt.
And the one person that crashed was from Pennsylvania and was used to driving in the snow.
Wow, there you go. Sheriff, what were you saying?
Well, I think I was getting ahead of it, alerting the public, trying to keep the public informed that the roads were dangerous. We seen a lot less traffic. I mean, you're going to still get it out there, but we try to do everything we can to mitigate. Like I said, look, I haven't heard from my grandmother. I haven't heard from my mother. Where's the address? We'll go check for you. Try to prevent people from getting on the road. And I think the majority of the community, they adhered to it. And they, that's exactly what we didn't want people on the road, because we'd have had a lot more. Instead of energy and resources trying to pull somebody out of a ditch or try to help them, we had a lot less of that, so we can concentrate on getting roads cleared, assessing everything that we needed to assess, plus still deal with calls.
And I think us riding with you and us getting some of that footage, people could stay home and see it. We weren't losing power, everything, but we were talking during the break, and I agree. I think I said it on the air 3 or 4 times. What would you rather lose, water or electricity. Now, if it's 15 degrees, I might flip that quarter and hope it lands on electricity. But it's really a double-edged deal. But at the end of the day, when the temperature is restored, I bet you would bet everybody would say water.
Absolutely. I think we learned that from Ida. I mean, most people was like, man, I wish I would have had water versus just having electricity. I mean, especially, of course, we lost both during Hurricane Ida.
Yeah.
And people realized, look, I can almost deal without electricity, but having that commodity of water, that's a very critical thing.
But then the snowstorm comes in, it's 15 degrees, and you're saying, I'm so glad I'm warm.
That's
But
right.
I think as a society, Chief, we want it all. We all want the luxuries. But back in the day, the sheriff was talking about his grandparents. They wanted gas stoves and gas because you could do everything with gas.
Right.
We can learn from our elders, but in this day and age, I think everybody wants everybody, but they want accountability too. They want their leaders to be out there. They want accountability, and I think this is a big learning experience. What did you put on your checklist for in your memory about what did I learn from this?
I think one thing, is just working within our own agency, making sure that all our officers are well educated on everything going on to help them prepare for what's coming. A lot of times we focus on educating the public, but I need to make sure I focus on educating our department within of what we have coming. Because, look, I wasn't prepared for 3 days and realizing all the businesses were going to be closed, so we had to hurry up and scramble and get things to take care of our men. Because you want them to keep working, you got to feed them. So
Yeah, and I want to thank, while we're doing that, Civic Stop, because we were on the desk for 3 days, and finally when we were getting off, we realized we don't have food or milk or Cokes. Tom, of course, as he always does, took care of us, and Blooming Orchids was sending us treats. I don't know how they got here, but they were here. Maybe they got here by drone or whatever. But the drone footage that we got from y'all, Sheriff, we had Dwayne Dupree here taking footage. We had Chase Toop sending us footage. That drone footage was just so valuable to see, the blanket of snow. Do we have a final report on? Some people told me, Martin, I had 16 inches in the middle of my yard. I had, I think, 13 at my house. Some people had 6, some had 7. Depends on where you were. But any final reports?
I think what I seen on the news was 9.5 for the
That's
area.
what I saw.
That's an average, right? Yeah, and that would be the
brilliant.
6th. But and I saw that they had upped the average to around 11. So I probably believe the 11 going into it. Water down the bayous. We're going to have Mr. Sobear coming on again, but y'all both were hearing this and traveling. I'm not looking at what went wrong. I'm looking at next time around, maybe some tanker trucks with water.
That may be an option. I mean, the foreseeing in the event, especially people lose water. And it didn't take long, and I had put in an order. I had my purchase agent to order 20 pallets of water, and the next morning we pumped 10 pallets down to the bayous because I knew that's where the water was out. By that time, I was already getting reports that it's been restored in Dularge. Water was restored in Dularge. Water was stored in the Gibson area, but we was able to start putting water on every single bayou where they didn't have any, at least drinking water. I think everybody was melting snow, and I guess a little bit of information there. I figured 40 gallons of snow, when you melt it, it makes about 10 gallons of water. I know that personally because I'd melted it myself to realize so we can flush a toilet.
But your wife was still happy.
She was able to flush the toilet.
Yeah, a lot of people when we improvise, and I think that was the thing. Let's take one more break. We'll come back with one more segment because really, y'all on the ground, y'all really the best source of accumulating information because y'all out there, your deputies out there, your units out there. So let's do this. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Once again, we're archiving here at this point at HTV. I want to archive that way. If again we see, they say in 2 weeks we might have another one. Who knows? But at least we'll have an idea what to do when we come back. So we'll take a break. One more segment with the sheriff and the police chief. Don't go away.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
All right, we're back with the sheriff and the police chief. We're talking about ways and documenting things in case we have another one of these. And Sheriff, if we go back in the footage way back when, probably come to a piece of footage with Sheriff Tim Sonia, yourself, where you said, they've thrown everything at me so far but a blizzard. Check it off, Sheriff.
It's checked off, but I am not going to say anything that's on my mind now. So,
no lava flow in Terrebonne Parish. Yes, indeed. I mean, yeah, we can laugh about some things and other things get more serious as you do it. But like I said, y'all are documenting facts as you get around, and some of your units see different things, and we saw the footage of the car spinning out around here. When I got out in it, and when we were doing certain things, cautious is just the thing. You just can't go out there in four-wheel drive. You just can't go out there and barrel through a subdivision and hopefully you think you're going to stop in 15 or 20 feet. It's just not going to happen. But I commend both of you. I saw units all over the place. And those units had to go out there. I'm sure they'd have loved to have been with their kids out in the snow, making snowmen and having fun. And I'm sure y'all both gave them a chance to do that. It was a 3-day thing. But I also want to commend Public Works. Y'all were working directly with a lot of people. I know Tommy Boudreaux and them on their units. I think DOT was out there. Who am I missing? Who were y'all working directly with that was just getting it done?
The men and women of both our agencies.
Yeah.
And, Acadian Ambulance, emergency services were never stopped for this event in Terrebonne Parish. And, David Rome and Public Works with Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, they did an amazing job of getting these roads cleared and maintaining them. You'd call them, hey, look, we got some ice, and within minutes they were down there putting a solution on it. I said earlier, never thought I'd see a cane tractor on Boulanger Street scraping ice, but.
And Tommy Boudreaux was telling me that some of those blades, he has $2,400 each, and you go through 3 or 4 pairs of those when you're scraping ice. But yeah, it didn't take them long to get there. That's when I was riding with your unit, Sheriff, and they just happened to pull up right when we were turning the corner and said, we're going to follow them. So, but I guess the good thing is after this storm, because the fact that it was powdery and we didn't have icicles bringing lines down, that the biggest thing was just making sure nobody got injured, nobody slid. But once that was done, you weren't cleaning up a whole bunch of telephone poles.
No, we didn't have none of that.
Yeah.
I think there was a tree that fell downtown.
One,
but
and a few in the bayou. I guess they can't take
one
away.
tree branch
Really?
that fell.
So this is so much different. But once again, we didn't have water here for 5 days because our pipes broke. I don't know how they broke in the attic. It was warm. I think maybe the cold water was coming through them. I'm going to ask Mike so bad that question when I see him. But Ida taught us about not having water for 6 weeks and having to take baths in swimming pools and everything else. Like I said, you were improvising and buying things and figuring a way to pump things. People down the bayous were improvising. But, man, if we could make a checklist and check them all off for the next one, we got something. What were y'all on shifts for this? Were the units working with 12-hour shifts? Is that how y'all working?
I had beefed up shifts during this whole weather.
Yeah.
This whole weather knob, whatever you want to call it, we had beefed up shifts, or we had more than adequate enough officers out there, and we were able to put that together to continue a large amount of officers. That's both night and day. And night became very important for monitoring, because at nighttime we had some calls for service, but they're out there watching bridges, watching what it's going to do. So what it brought us the next morning. So a lot of nighttime, I was on the phone and I was communicating with my patrol. The guys are out there, and what I can see for myself, they can look at bridges. Is it going to freeze over in the morning? So if it did freeze over, then we're going to even put more notices out there. Please stay off the road, because we don't want nobody deciding going to get on the road.
You were concerned with melting ice that had become black ice, and a lot of people go, when's the last time you talked to the sheriff? I said 10:30 last night. I said, man, don't sleep. And they'll Travis, you out scraping steps and all that. And that's the kind of things I love to see and hear, because I know there's a lot of bad that happens in disasters, but there's a lot of good that happens.
Well, one thing that both me and the sheriff learned whenever you start talking about hurricanes, tornadoes, even Mardi Gras, is to make sure that both he and I are always on the same page and we delivering a unified message of what we want from the community or what we need the community to do for their safety. We don't let egos get in the way, and we make sure we delivering a consistent message.
Well, y'all did, and it was certainly a good message, and it was certainly, I was shocked at the amount of people that stayed home. I know we were showing a lot of footage. We were live on Facebook, live on YouTube. I hate to see what our numbers were at one point. They were incredible, but people could actually sit there, and I was mesmerized by the drone footage, because you don't think you're looking at Terrebonne Parish or Lafourche or St. Mary. You think you're looking at Dakota. And look at this. You're looking at Terrebonne Parish and you're going, wow, we waited as kids for snow, but the kids who got to see this snow, just real quick, put it in your memory bank because you may never see it again.
Tell you what, the court square was pretty.
It was. It really was. I want to thank you all again. We got 50 seconds to wrap, but I'd be remiss if I didn't thank both of you and all your employees for the efforts that y'all put through. I expected y'all to come through. Y'all did. It didn't shock me. I've known y'all for a long time, and I know the people appreciate y'all efforts. So thank you very much for coming on, and thank y'all for what y'all do. But thank you for going the extra mile during these disasters. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it. Two of our very important people, the police chief and the sheriff, making things happen in the area. We'll be right back. Don't go away. A lot to cover and a lot of recaps and a lot to put on the list to make it bigger and better next time we go through another natural disaster.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.